Hey guys, coming up to part 2 of the J68 O-gauge build. As you can see, it doesn't look like much has changed. I've soldered these in, the boiler bands. I wouldn't worry too much about this because this will get tidied up shortly. It will look something like this. You can actually tell the difference between a first attempt and a second attempt, but again, it looks a little bit nicer after doing that. So yeah, the boiler's on its way to being finished now. What has now been finished is the interior of the cab. So what I have actually done is that's actually worth mentioning. The footplate is obviously now in soldered. The cab is now done as well. So you've now got the sanders, the internal sanders, and the inside of the cab are now in. Excuse me about the thumb. So that's we'll use a patented pokey stick here. So we've got the sanders here. We've got the handbrake now in, so this is your handbrake here. Your other sander on the other side. Then we're turning attention to the locomotive itself, the front. You've got the back head here. So you've got the back head. This had to be soldered separately. This is actually a shield for the fireman. You've actually got the reversing wheel here, and you've got the reversing linkages here. So what's quite interesting is that the kit asked you to do to solder. I better get my fingers out. I can't flip and see. So what actually does, the kit asks you to solder this as a plate together, just like so, and then solder in a couple of other bits and pieces to then get this in. And this was actually a linkage I bought separately, along with the reversing wheel. I thought, you know what, it'd actually be nice to have a reversing wheel that looked differently. It looks a bit of a mess in there again, but again, this is the point of brass and everything. It looks a mess when you've finished it. But yeah, the back head's in, the coal rails on the back, and the coal back of the cab is in as well. In addition, these have been, the other side for the fireman has actually been fitted as well. So what's actually had to happen is that the windows here that were soldered in, it recommended you have them at a certain height, but I had them at a certain height, and unfortunately it didn't actually pan out evenly after that. The back head had to be filed out. The back head is still a bit loose. You may note the hole here. This hole is actually for the regulator and the gland to go in. I actually don't know where my gland and regulator have gone, so I'm in a bit of a quandary as to where it's going. What I have started to do is the Smokebox. So you have the two parts. This is going to be rolled and then will be soldered. And as you can see, I've already tried to attempt to solder it, and it's actually become quite difficult for me to do. So yeah, hopefully in the next part we should have a kit which is almost complete. And it's quite funny because you look at that and it does not look straight at all. It's actually a little bit on the wonk, that end, but to be honest, this isn't important because you're not going to see it. This is just to form the boiler, and the boiler sits nice and will sit nicely. So when I come to fit the smoke box, you won't know a difference, will you? And the good thing is there's a bit of play in it as well. But the boiler needs to go a little bit to the left and needs to just sit nice and comfortably in the boiler on the smoke box, like so. But yeah, it's been quite a nice sort of build, really. I've enjoyed every moment of the build at the minute. I actually took this to my home heritage railway where I volunteer, as we're allowed to go back now and do minor jobs. We weren't allowed to do any major stuff yet, not like run the engine or anything. And the lads, albeit at a socially distant spacing, went, ooh, that looks nice. So yeah, anyway, I shall leave you guys to it, and you shall see in the next section how I've got on. Hopefully this will be done. It's going to be a real tough one to get that right, but I'll have to watch a few videos and see how you do it. Anyway, shall catch you guys later. Bye for now. Bye. Hey guys, back with the second part, and I thought I'd get out a P&O sides wagon. This is essentially a wagon that is built, and so the sides are done for you, and all you do is you put it together yourself. So in this case, I've done it all together I've done it all as one piece. We're not really here to talk about that wagon, we're here to talk about the locomotive. So yeah, I know. Quite transformation from yesterday. The smoke box is obviously now in, the dome is now soldered on, the chimney is just placeholdered, as is the safety valves on the smoke box door. But everything else is pretty solidly in terms of, I've also got the cab is now solidly in as well. So we've got in there, you can actually now see the quadrant, and you've got the reversing wheel and everything, that's all done. So yeah, it's been a fairly, and I've also soldered up the top and put the rivets in the roof as well. So yeah, it's been a fairly productive time while doing this. Just point out that the clack valves are in, the sanding gear's in, the grab handle for the crewman, so if he climbs up, he can grab onto the grab handles, climb onto the engine to check the tanks, if he needs to check the tanks. You've got a mechanical lubricator fitted as well. Quite an odd thing actually for a locomotive this sort of size, because even the J69 wasn't fitted with a mechanical lubricator to the locomotive. From the front, address that. Interestingly, if you look at the instructions of this kit, it gives you two options for smoke boxes. So you can actually have the type that we have got here, which is actually a smooth type. Because I couldn't work on that anymore, I actually reached this critical mass where the pump fell off. I've soldered using a white metal soldering pattern type thing, and also the clack valves aren't soldered in properly yet. I've got to push them in and solder them in from the sides here. Apart from that, there's not much more I could do to this model, so I decided to get on with something else. So without further ado, I'll bring it in. So yes, I have fitted the motor. I have fitted these are the wires that actually come with the model. Ooh, careful. Anyway, these are the wires that come with the model, and what you've got is actually a machinima DC motor, which comes from the kit, which comes with the kit if you buy it. So you have to pay an extra £45 for the motor, which Jim will give you. He'll also give you the gear, which runs to the wheels as well. This kit cost me about £255 to have. I like, as you can see through the frames, you can actually see the connecting rod on the other opposite side. I've managed to wire it up correctly as well, so you've actually got the red is actually on the negative, and you've got the black on the positive. So essentially what will mean is that I'll have to solder, let's say, I think I soldered the black this side and the red this side, and hopefully we'll be able to get on with a couple of bits and pieces. It was actually quite interesting because if any of you watch Stephen Rowe on YouTube, he built a J15 from Connoisseur from Jim McGowan, and he was talking about the tightness that he was getting on his wheels. And quite interestingly, I got, obviously, and quite naturally, as I've been told, that is quite a normal thing. The rods here, there's actually a bearing which sits into the connecting rod, and then you actually had to file. I had to file the not the bearing, the basically the bearing that is inside the connecting rod, and then file it on all 6 driving wheels, on all 6 wheels, and then I added a ton of oil into the bearings and into everything on the locomotive, and I haven't had a problem since. The locomotive just started, the engine just came alive and started running. Anyway, without further ado, guys, I shall leave you be, and the other frames will say goodbye to you as they depart, and hopefully in the third part the locomotive will just roll in as a whole piece. Anyway, so bye for now.